Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Friday, it's September 6th. It is 2024. We have a 12-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, we're at halftime of the first NFL game of the season, and we have a 12-game baseball slate. We got football, we got baseball, we got NASCAR playoffs. It is a great time of the year if you are a sports fan. What's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, man. Doing good. Got a tough break in the Kansas City game, so I'm a little bummed about that. But guess what? We got baseball, folks, and we are going to ride this thing to the money. So hopefully everybody's excited. I'm excited. And we've also got NFL again tomorrow, Steven. I won't really see that game because Arden has a football game. But we've got that, and it should be a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow night's game, I feel like is going to be really solid too. I think it's going to be a really good football game. And I think that I got home about 45 minutes ago, and I've watched a little bit of this Kansas City-Baltimore game. But, I mean, so far it looks like it's a really solid football game. So, excited to talk baseball, though. I get excited about playoff baseball, so I'm very excited. Like, the playoffs are right around the corner. Playoff baseball, I feel like, is very profitable in the prop world. So let's talk some baseball. Tampa Bay at Baltimore, 8.5 total. Baltimore 135 favorite. We got Baz and Kramer facing off against each other. Any interest here in Shane Baz?
No, not in this spot. I think we've got some other cheap guys that are really going to be much better for us. Steve, at least one in particular, I think is going to probably be an option. And I don't want to play around with Baz against Baltimore here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Baltimore is really tough on right-handed pitching. You know, there are a couple strikeouts towards the bottom half of this lineup, assuming that like Mayo continues to draw some starts, but not a team I want to pick on, just in general. And like, I don't necessarily know what my full thoughts are on Shane Baz yet. Like, the strikeouts have been pretty low, so I don't know if he's like a high upside guy or anything like that yet. So yeah, I mean, below average strikeout pitcher against Baltimore. I think that's all we really needed to say and kind of talk more than we needed to there. Kramer on the other side, good matchup against Tampa, 6,500, 66 pitches last time out. Got hit with a line drive in the forearm in that game. Almost on normal rest. I assume that he's good to go. I don't think he would be pitching if he wasn't good to go. Any interest here in Kramer at 6,500?
I'm actually okay with Kramer here because of the price, Stevie. I mean, if he was 8,500, I probably wouldn't be as interested. But at 6,500, I think this is a reasonable price for a guy on a big slate, facing a team that's had their struggles after all the trades they've made and roster swaps and all the things they've done. They're a much higher strikeout team. And they just kind of have a patchwork lineup right now. So, once again, I'm not saying Kramer's anything near elite, but I think he's fine for this matchup. And I think the price is really good for this spot.
Yeah, I think you could take some shots on Kramer. I mean, he's a guy that typically throws over 90 pitches on average. He's not a huge swinging miss guy, but Tampa has a lot of strikeouts in this lineup, so they help with that. They've called up some young hitters as well, so they're going to have some young bats in this lineup. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of those type of guys, but I think it's a price thing more than anything else. Like, Kramer goes out and gets you like 18. I don't think you're mad about it.
I'm sure not mad about it. 18 fantasy points at that price.
Yep. Tampa bats. Any interest in the Tampa bats here?
Not really. I don't think I need them on this slate. Stevie, huge slate. Well, I won't say huge, but big slate today. 12 games. I don't think we have to overreach.
Yeah, nothing like. I mean, Brandon Lau always in play. Josh Lowe, I think, is okay. They called up one of their top prospects, junior. Was it Cam Nero? He's a top prospect, big time prospect. So, like, if you wanted to take some shots on him at 4,100, I don't necessarily hate that. Like, Kramer's not a huge K guy, so I think those would be the ones to take shots on overall. And then on the other side of this game, like, Baz is a below average strikeout pitcher. I think Baltimore is definitely in play today. They're not the top stack on the slate for me, but they're a team like if I was building 20 or 150, I would definitely get exposure to.
Yeah, for sure. I like them today, Stevie. My only concern is this team, they're a lot more expensive now. Like,
Yep.
we've been getting Mullins, I guess, around 38, 3,700, 3,900 most of the season. He's up to 4,500. Eloy Jimenez, he was in that 3K range. He's 4K. Cowser, Stevie, went from the threes all the way to 5,400. Santander, 58. You got probably the best hitter on their team in terms of upside this season, along with Santander's Gunnar Henderson at 6,500. So he's a lot more expensive. Holiday 42, which is very reasonable. O'Hearn 48, Rutschman 57. So if you want to get this team, Stevie, you have to reach up and get them. And pairing them with Kramer might almost be an option for you because he's so cheap. And just kind of have the pitching and hitting stack together. And I think that's the way to get to them. But overall, really expensive. These feel like Coors pricing for such a big slate. Like them, don't love them. Definitely play them in mass multi-entry. I don't think I get there in 3-entry max.
Yeah, I don't think I get there in 3-entry max too, and it's just like I don't think it's like a home run like massive spot. So I do like Baltimore is a team that can break any slate, and they have so much power throughout the lineup. They have so many good bats throughout the lineup. They have some cheaper bats to make the stack work too. Overall, depending on like who cracks the lineup or not, I mean, you're potentially getting Mayo at 2,500. We really haven't seen a lot from him yet, but read a lot of really good stuff about him when I was looking into him the other day. So I think that, he's a guy you could take some shots on as well. Battle of the Sox, White Sox, Red Sox, 9 total. Boston, a 275 favorite. Davis Martin, Nick Pivetta. Any interest here in Davis Martin?
I don't think so, Stevie. Not against Boston. I know Boston, they do have a few extra strikeouts in this lineup up top now, but Davis Martin shouldn't be any match for them. Like, they should overpower him today. Not interested.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill going to strike out. Cass is going to strike out from time to time. The bottom half, like you mentioned, offers a little bit more strikeout upside, but it's still so much power throughout this lineup that it's like, can I really get excited about playing this guy? Probably not. He has a 22% K rate on the season. He's been pitching a lot better here recently. A lot of positive signs from him in his last few starts, but I still think overall not a guy you want to play against the Red Sox. Other side of this game, Nick Pivetta. A lot of interest in Pivetta at 8,600. The strikeout matchup here against the White Sox. I think that Pivetta is one of the top point per dollar pitchers on the slate.
Yeah, man. Love Pivetta today. You mentioned the strikeout upside. The price is fantastic. Obviously, any pitcher can get hit, and we know that, Stevie. But this does feel like a matchup where he should be able to be fairly efficient, get through 6 innings with 6 strikeouts at least, right? With probably upside for, I'd say, 8 to 9 here. So I really like him. And I think a lot of people will, even on a big slate.
When you beat Pivetta, it's by the long ball, and they just don't have a lot of like power in this lineup. I mean, Luis Robert, always a guy that has a little bit of power. Ben Attendee, maybe, but overall, this lineup is just missing power. They've made some call-ups. The call-ups haven't been hitting. Like the White Sox, just a historically bad team. Like this is one of the worst baseball teams we have ever seen, in Major League Baseball. So, yeah, I mean, I love Pivetta in this spot. I think he'll be really popular, and I think he's good chalk today.
Yeah.
White Sox bats. And we should mention that Robert left the game Wednesday with hamstring tightness. So, like, if he's out of the lineup, like, you're really not worried about this lineup overall. Any interest in the White Sox bats?
Negative.
Yeah, a lot of – I feel like it's one of those slates I'm just going to play a lot of Pivetta. I don't see the leverage stack and be done with it. I will say the other side, I have a lot of interest in Boston today. Martin is a guy that has struggled with like left-handed power, and we have a lot of it in Boston. Duran, Devers, Abreu, Cassis. I don't even hate like the righty matchup for O'Neill. So Boston is definitely a team I want to get some exposure to here in Fenway.
For sure. In spots like this, Stevie, where I don't have like a crazy high strikeout guy, even guys that get strikeouts, Yoshida always ends up being one of my favorite bats because I feel like in these spots, Stevie, he's able to pick up some upside by just putting a bat on the ball and poking balls through and driving runs home. To me, these are the spots where he thrives. And most of the time when I've been able to get him against these types of pitchers, I mean, he's done pretty well. So at 4K, I want to, put him in the list. Not as much power as these guys, but very little strikeout. Should be able to drive some runs home. I love everybody else you talked about. Obviously, Casas, Devers, Duran. Those are your big hitters. And these other guys, Yoshida, Brady, they'll clean up and do some other things. But really, really wanted to add him in. He always ends up being one of my favorite players in spots like this.
All right, we got Philadelphia at Miami, 7.5 total. Philadelphia minus 225 favorite. Zach Wheeler, Edward Cabrera. What are our thoughts here on Zach Wheeler?
My thoughts are one of the best pitchers on the slate and one of the best spots on the slate. He's 10K and he's worth every bit of that 10K in this spot, Stevie. So I think you need to play him. Now, look, I don't think he's a better point per dollar play than Pivetta. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I feel like he's a much more stable pitcher. And I do feel like at the top today, Stevie, you may not go wrong with any of these guys at the top. So I will say that. And so I think, at 10K, once again, great spot for Wheeler. Strikeout should be there. Being able to have some run prevention should be there. Pitching in Miami. I think he's a great play today.
I'm with you. Like Miami, they've made some call-ups, and some of these guys are hitting a lot better, just in general. But still a matchup in Miami that, like, it's really hard not to have a lot of interest in Wheeler in this spot. So I'm with you. A lot of interest in Wheeler. Cabrera is running into one of the hottest offenses in baseball. This is not a team you want to be like playing against right now. Like throughout the lineup, if you look at the last month for these guys, oh man, just everyone is hitting outside of like Trey Turner. So easy stay away spot for me on Cabrera today.
I think I like him a little bit more than you because of the price, Stevie. But once again, there's another cheap guy that I probably like more than anyone. And so, because we've added Kramer in the mix, and obviously I think Kramer needs to be in the mix. I'm probably going to forego Cabrera. I feel like Cabrera has way more downside than Kramer today. And so I'll just let Kramer and probably one other guy be my cheap pitchers today, Stevie, and I'll just let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I mean, I just, it's so hard to like want to play pitchers against Philadelphia right now. Like Schwarber is just scorching.
Yeah.
Listen, it is in Miami, but I mean, when you look at Cabrera, where he struggles is left-handed power. I don't know if I stack Philadelphia. A lot of interest in Harper and Schwarber. I mean, play the big lefties here as power one-offs or a little mini stack, but I would attack the power lefties in this lineup today.
Yeah, for sure. Stocks 4K also. Who's the lefty, so I don't mind squeezing him in. And then, in terms of the righties, I mean, are we going to get hair on fire JT Real Muto trying to stick it to the man, low revenge game, Stevie? I'm mostly kidding about that, but he's still a good hitter. And so while I'm with you, I don't necessarily want to massively stack them. I do think, man, they're cheap enough when you add in Marsh and Stott to at least get the lefty four-man and see what happens. Any of these guys could run into a long ball off of him, and he's also been a guy, Stevie, sometimes he just has control issues. The walks start piling up, and, a timely hit from anyone turns this thing from, a 2-0 game to a 5-0 game. And, they kind of keep the flywheel going with the offense. So, but if I had to choose today, right now, I'm just going to side with Schwarber because as you've mentioned, he's just been scorching, Stevie, hitting home runs. Had 3 home runs yet in the Toronto game, and then another one the day after that. Just, I mean, crushing it. So I'm perfectly fine with playing some Phillies bats here.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get creative with your Philly stack, you could add like Cody Clemens instead of Stott and do like a Clemens, Schwarber, Harper wraparound type of stack with the lefties. Like Clemens, from what we've seen in a very small sample size, I think like 60 at bats, has really good power against right-handed pitching. So I don't even hate Clemens. He is 3,300. You can play him at second base. So just like offers a little bit of value to that Philly lineup. Any interest here in the Miami bats?
No, not against Wheeler.
Yeah, I mean, like Conan has been someone in matchups where I feel like he's been a nice like value relief. Edwards has a little bit of upside. Norby is a guy that I've played a lot down the stretch, but I think this is just one of those spots. I trust Wheeler a lot more than I trust these bats, so that's what I'm going to be looking at in this game. Cincinnati at New York facing the Mets. 8 total. Mets a 160 favorite. Brandon Williamson against Jose Quintana. Any interest here in Williamson?
Nah, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, made his debut last time out. He only threw 66 pitches, and he's coming back from a shoulder injury. So kind of wait and see approach for me when it comes to him. I mean, we saw him last year. He was a below average strikeout guy that really struggled with right-handed bats, so I probably don't want to play him anyway. So I'm just gonna pass. I'd much rather play like Kramer for $500 more. Quintana,
absolutely.
any interest in Quintana here?
Yeah, no interest, Steven. I just feel like he's a little bit too expensive. Like, why is he almost 8K? Maybe it's because he's at home in Citi Field, but in my opinion, Cincinnati's strikeout rate has come down since they've made some moves. So some teams have gotten worse, Stevie. Cincinnati's gotten better. Like, this team isn't as high of a strikeout team, like overall up and down the lineup. Like, yeah, Ellie's going to strike out, but I mean, they've got some guys here. A fair amount of their guys are under 20% now. I don't understand this pricing on Quintana here in this spot. Full faith for me.
Yeah, I mean, he will have spots where he gets really good BABIP gains and pitches deeper into games and has good starts, but he's still a below average strikeout pitcher at this time of his career. Like, he is trying to pitch to ground balls. Like, he's not trying to pitch to miss bats. He's literally trying to pitch to ground balls. So I'm out on Quintana as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I love the Reds today. This is not one of those spots where I'm like really excited to play Cincinnati. I mean, Stevenson has been absolutely fantastic against left-handed pitching this season. So like, if you want to pay up for a catcher, he's 4,400. I think that he's obviously someone. But overall, I think I'm probably going to be underweight on the Reds in this spot. Big time ballpark downgrade too.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. I think I'm a little bit higher on the Reds than you are today, just because I don't typically trust Jose Quintana against good teams. So, but a guy like Steer, he's 5,100. Might be a little bit too expensive, but if I stack him, I think he goes in. India would go in. France would go in. I actually think France might be one of their highest strikeout bets. I got to go verify that. But I'm okay with the Reds. I'm not saying they're an elite stack or anything like that, but they're definitely cheaper than Baltimore, Stevie. And so I do like them. Don't love them.
Yeah, I just happened to look up at the football game, and I think Pacheco just got hurt for Kansas City. That kind of stinks. Hopefully he's okay.
No.
He was laying on the ground, looked like he was in a lot of pain. So hopefully he's good.
There goes that.
As far as the Mets bats go, a lot of interest in like the power righties here. Vientos, Alonso, and like Lindor has been excellent against lefties this year. So like those three, I don't know if you necessarily have to mini stack them, but I have interest in those three bats for sure. You got to remember the ballpark. You'll get some cheap bats in here with like Taylor and Bader, but I really think I want to take the three. Like if I have enough where I can play the expensive bats here, I'm definitely interested in Lindor, Vientos, and Alonso.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned Lindor, Steve, because I feel like just over this stretch, and I think I talked about it possibly on the last pod, he's just been ultra productive, Stevie. I mean, almost more. I think he's had more double-digit fantasy point games than single-digit fantasy point games over like the past 10 to 20. It's been insane. So I'm love the Lindor call. Obviously, you can get an MO. You can get the JD too. JD's been fairly productive. You've got Pete Alonso if you want to go there. But all in all, I'm okay with the Mets. I probably don't get to a full 5-man with the Mets. I probably get to 4 or 3. But all in all, I think they're a fine stack against Williamson.
All right, moving on. We got Toronto at Atlanta. 8 total in this game. Your Braves, a minus 185 favorite. Gausman and Fried. Any interest here in Kevin Gausman?
Stevie, I wish this was Gausman from 2 years ago, maybe even last year. I wouldn't mind playing him. The strikeout stuff is just not there consistently this year. My issue or my conundrum here is the Braves have been an incredibly high strikeout team since a lot of their injuries. And I feel like Gausman at 8K is someone we could consider because the leash is so long, but we're going to have to depend on some BABIP and depend on him to get some strikeouts. He hasn't really given up a ton of runs over this mini stretch here, but the strikeouts aren't anywhere near where they were. I mean, yeah, he struck out 10 Angels, but like that's the Angels. I think at 8K, I roll the dice because I know the Braves have been striking out a ton. And I think that's where I land on.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate him. I don't love him. You talked about, like, even last year, his strikeout rate's down 9% from last year. His swinging strike rate's down. His whiff rate's down 5%. Like, everything is down for Gausman right now. Atlanta has a lot of upside, but they also have a lot of misses in this lineup, like swing and misses. So I don't necessarily hate him. I don't love him. I probably don't get to a lot of him, but I don't X him out of my pool. So yeah, I think he's playable. Like I said, I'm with you though. Like, I wish we had his strikeout rate from last year.
Yeah.
Any interest in Fried in this spot?
I'm not playing Fried today. I've got too many other guys that I like within my grasp, Stevie, or within his range, that I trust way more, and they're in much better spots. So while I'm not a Fried hater, he's not going in my pool today.
Yeah, he just really hasn't shown a ton of upside. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't necessarily hate this spot, but like, his command is my biggest issue. Like,
oh man,
Fried is a guy with really good control and command, and it just hasn't been there. So like, that's my biggest concern. And I mean, they're going to be able to get probably 7 righties in this lineup today. So I'm not interested in Fried. I'm not necessarily interested in the Toronto bats either. I just don't want to. I don't think Fried has a huge ceiling here.
Agreed. I was muted, and I want to keep my non-mute streak going, Stevie. I feel like we've been rolling a while. I told you these odds have flipped. That people expect me to not mute now. So now over mutes is like, plus 150.
Any interest in the Braves bats here?
Oh man, I think Olsen, Ozuna, guys that are really going to crush it and hit the long ball, Stevie. Harris at 4K, I'm okay with that. But I am not rushing to stack up the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, Gausman's a good enough pitcher. Target the power bats. I will say, like, Harris has been really cheap on FanDuel all week when I was doing premium tags. So I don't necessarily hate Harris if he's still cheap on FanDuel. I don't have FanDuel up in front of me. They don't always have their slates up when I'm like doing my research, so I don't typically open it. LA Angels at Texas. Algieri against Urena. 9 total. Texas a 170 favorite here. Any interest here in Sam Algieri?
Negative.
Yeah, I mean, 5 innings last time out against Seattle in his debut. Just, I mean, everything that I kind of expected, not missing bats and stuff. So, easy stay away spot for me, and I feel like it's an easy stay away spot on the other side of this game too. Jose Urena, just can't do it, man. Even against the Angels, I just can't do it.
Oh yeah, we're not playing any Jose Urena, sir. Like no. No way.
Yeah, below average strikeout pitcher. Gets hit hard from time to time. Yeah, I'm just gonna pass. Any interest here in the Angels bats?
Slightly, Stevie. I know, once again, I think this is a great alternate stack today. They're not incredibly expensive, like, Moniac, Adele, those guys are cheap, 31, 3,500. You know, Rendon's been an everyday player, and I don't like Rendon. I'm not saying he's a great roster, but he's 3,600. This team is just cheap. Shanduel, he's 3,400. Well, Hoppy's down to 4K. He's been over 4K some. So I think against Urania, Stevie, I don't mind adding them in as a 3 to 4 man on the other side of my primary stack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not getting to a lot of these bats. I think they're cheap, so like cheap stacks or cheap bats here, sure. They're facing Jose Urena. My boy Mickey Moniak just keeps he keeps hitting. He's back. He looks good. Whatever was going on with him, he's gotten it figured out. And yeah, man, he looks absolutely fantastic. So Moniak for sure. One of my favorite plays here. And then on the Texas side, I mean, I like Texas today. Like, we really didn't see a lot of misses from Algeria in his first start, and I don't really necessarily expect to see any more in this spot. So his swinging strike rate was 3.8%. His whiff rate was 9.4%. He didn't grade out as like a huge prospect strikeout pitcher. I think Texas is a team you want to get exposure to today.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, once again, Seager's already out. But man, Steve, that brings the cost of this stack down even more. Seager was their most expensive guy, and so you can get $1 at 4,400. Smith at 41, Langford 4K. Obviously, Simeon's 4,900, but Jung at 42, Lowe at 36, Heim at 35. Stevie, this stack is just incredibly cheap. So I am in. On a Texas stack today, big time in a spot where they should be able to take advantage of a young pitcher.
Yep. You know how much I like my boy Wyatt Langford. I think today is a good day to make Wyatt Langford the image. Good to see Pacheco back. I see chat saying that he just got a touchdown. So I don't ever root for anybody to get hurt. So I always want players to come back and bounce back from being on the sideline, kneeling down hurt. So good to see Pacheco back. That's awesome that he scored a touchdown there. Arizona at Houston, 8 total. Houston a 155 favorite. Fought against Valdez. Any interest here in Brandon Fott?
Oh man, Stevie. So I'm actually probably not as afraid of Fott as other people, just because he does have strikeout upside. But once again, I don't think the risk is worth the reward when I've got just other guys in this range like Pavetta, who I feel like is better. You know what I mean? I'd rather just swap those shares to him. We've got, Valdez on the other side. Like I don't think the cost of admission is worth it here. So I'm not playing Fott today.
Yeah, there's been plenty of spots we've played him recently, and I mean he's been pitching a lot better down the stretch. Houston's a tough team; they just don't strike out a lot, even with like injuries and like how this lineup has gone from just ups and downs. I feel like is the best way to put it. They still don't strike out. I mean, they have one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball, so really tough for me to get fought here. Valdez, he's been pitching really good. He's had some really good strikeout stuff recently. Tough matchup against Arizona. I'm more likely to roll out Valdez than I am Fott on the other side here. I have some slight interest in Valdez here.
Yeah, I've got slight interest also, Stevie, and mainly for me, it's because over this stretch, he's pitched against some good teams and the strikeouts haven't fallen off. So like Kansas City picked up 7, that's a good team. Baltimore picked up 8, that's a good team. Obviously, the White Sox are awful. He got 9. Obviously, Tampa Bay is awful. He picked up 9. Texas, pretty good team, but look at the efficiency, Stevie. 8 and a 2/3 innings, almost won a complete game, 107 pitches, 5 strikeouts. Like, he's been fantastic. And even before then, Stevie, 10 against Pittsburgh, 10 against the Dodgers, 6 against Seattle. at 9,600, I think Valdez has earned the right to be considered. And he will still see some lefties. They'll probably move Corbin Carroll further down the lineup, but it won't matter. He'll still see some lefties. I'm okay with Valdez at 9,600 for sure.
Any interest in the Arizona Bats?
Negative. I think Valdez is good enough to limit this team.
Yeah, I'm just out on. I feel like I'm out on bats in this game in general. Like I feel like
same.
You could take shots on like Jordan Alvarez on the other side because he's just that guy. But I mean, I just can't get excited about stacking either one of these teams, and it's a 12-game slate.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Minnesota at Kansas City, 8.5 or 8 total. Kansas City a 150 favorite. Zebby, Matthews, Cole, Reagans. Any interest here in Matthews?
Man, I think Zebby has some potential, Stevie. I don't think I'm going to play him because I think Kramer is still the guy. He has seen this team already since he's come up, but I don't think this is a fantastic spot. So at 6,900, I'm going to fade.
See, my initial thought was I don't like him either, and then like I started to think about it more, and like looking at the numbers for him, he's been really good against righties, and he's really struggled against lefties. With Pasquantino out of this lineup right now, it's a very right-handed heavy lineup. And like Pasquantino makes a huge difference in my opinion. He's that good. Like he's that good of a hitter. So, I mean, depending on what type of lineup we get here for Matthews at this price point, I actually kind of have a little bit of interest in him. So it'd be studying some plate IQ stuff once this lineup drops. They're a low walk rate team, so I feel like that is a bump to a young pitcher too. But yeah, I mean, I have some slight interest here in Zebby, depending on what type of lineup we see today for Kansas City. Cole Reagans, other side of this game. I mean, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. And no, he's had some recent struggles. But really, since like the middle of last year, Cole Reagans has just kind of put it together and pitched fantastic. Any interest here in Reagans?
Yeah, I don't mind Reagans. So here's the thing, Stevie. Can he get his efficiency in order? Because the strikeouts really haven't gone anywhere. So that's one of the things I like to measure. Like even in some of these games where recently, Stevie, where he had 17 fantasy points against the Angels, the efficiency was off. He still went 97 pitches. He had 9 strikeouts in 5 innings. Only 4-4 against Cleveland. 94 pitches. So once again, the efficiency. Cleveland's a very low strikeout team. And then you look at Houston, 5 innings, 10 strikeouts, Stevie, but gave up 5 runs in that game, 93 pitches. If he's anywhere near efficient in any of these games and gets through the innings and keeps some of the runs down, Stevie, we're looking at 25 to 30. So the upside is still there for me. The strikeouts haven't fallen off the cliff. I don't think he gets a ton of ownership today, and I really like that. So at 9,400, I am in on the Cole Reagans shares.
Yeah, I mean, I have interest in Reagans. Obviously, Carlos Santana has been great. Lewis is great. Jeffers is good. But Minnesota is a much better team against right-handed pitching than they are against left-handed pitching. So Reagans, I think, has some upside here. Any interest in the Minnesota Bats?
No, I'm going to pass on the Minnesota Bats today. And that's one of my favorite teams to stack, Stevie. So shame on me. They're probably scoring 12 runs here. But I'm not going to risk it against Reagans.
Yeah, I mean, very interested in like some of the power righties, Lewis, Santana, Jeffers, but overall probably not getting a lot of exposure here. Any interest in Kansas City?
I probably have a little bit more interest in Kansas City, but more so it's Bobby Witt, man. Like he's just scoring against everybody. And so I'm fine with him. Obviously, the outfield is now like stupid cheap, Pham, Renfroe, Melendez, like they're all cheap. So if you decide you want to put this thing together, Stevie, I mean, you're getting just a low cost lineup all around outside of Sal Pal and Bobby Witt, and that's why I'm okay with the stack.
Yeah, I mean, some cheap pieces. I don't necessarily love it, but also like it is a young pitcher, and you never know what you're going to get out of a young pitcher. So I don't mind a stack here. They're not one of my favorite stacks, but I wouldn't necessarily talk you off of it. Seattle at St. Louis, 7.5 total. St. Louis, 120 favorite. Bryce Miller, Eric Fetty. Any interest here in Bryce Miller?
No, I think I'm going to pass, Stevie. Like, St. Louis has been much better down the stretch. And so I prefer to play Bryce Miller against teams where I feel like he's got some form of an advantage. And I just don't feel like he has the complete upper hand against this lineup. They're going to throw some lefties at him that can really hit baseball. So I'm out on Miller.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably out on Miller at this price point, considering some of the pitchers that we have.
Yeah.
On the slate, I don't necessarily think Bryce Miller is a bad pitcher. I don't necessarily have anything bad to say against him. I just don't know if he has some of the upside at this price point others do. Like, he's a 24% K rate guy. And he gives up a lot of fly balls, which hot St. Louis time of the year, I mean, probably not gonna play him. I mean, yeah. Other side of this game, Eric Fetty. Any interest in Fetty here?
Oh, yeah. This is my other cheap guy that I was talking about, Steven. That's Fetty at 7,700. One of the things that I like about Fetty, he still has a pretty good leash, Stevie. And he has some efficiency to his game. And this is a matchup where some strikeouts should show up. I mean, past 2 games, he's had 8 strikeouts against the Yankees, 7 against Minnesota, 6 against Tampa Bay. I'm not saying, he's going to pick up 7 or 8 today, but I think 4 to 5 is a reasonable expectation in this spot. And at 7,700, if he distributes or displays rather enough efficiency, Stevie, I think he can get through 6 innings and 90-ish pitches. And if he can, get 4, let's say, call it 4 to 6 strikeouts and limit the runs, then I think we're cooking with hot grease. So really like Fetty today at 7,700. He's one of my cheaper pitchers, along with Kramer that I've been mentioning and want to get in some lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily hate him in this spot. He has been a lot worse down the stretch, but he's taken advantage of some good matchups as well. I think this is a good matchup for strikeouts. So it's just like I hate playing Fetty. And like,
oh, why?
Oh gosh, man. Seattle's a team at this point of the year where like you could really stack Seattle against left-handed pitching, but like you still play pitchers against them, right-handed pitchers against them. So yeah, I mean, I'll play Fetty today. Seattle bats, Cal Riley. Did you realize that like Cal Riley has 29 home runs on the season?
And he's still going.
Yeah,
I think he finishes with, I'm going to call it 38 to 40, Stevie. That's my number. I think 40 is cap, but I think he gets close.
But just think from a catcher production, he is likely going to end up getting 35 plus home runs and 100 plus RBIs out of a catcher slot. Yeah. And your team is awful around him. It's just, what are we doing? Do you have any interest in Seattle?
No, not overall. I like you said, I don't mind the Cal Riley call. But generally speaking, I mean, I wouldn't mind Rayleigh either, but he just strikes out too much. So yeah, mainly just Riley.
Seattle bat or St. Louis bats. Sorry. Any interest in the St. Louis bats?
So as much as I don't want to play Miller today, I don't want to play St. Louis either. Like, Miller's a good pitcher. I just think he doesn't have the upside today.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in St. Louis. Man, I can't say it. St. Louis, the Cardinals. I don't have a lot of interest in them either. Going to the other side or next game, Detroit at Oakland, 7 total. Detroit a 185 favorite. Scoble and Spence. Scoble against Oakland. I mean, I don't necessarily love right-handed pitching against Oakland, but man, Scoble today in this spot just signed me up. My favorite combo, Scoble, Pivetta, run to the cash window. Love Tariq Scoble today.
Yeah, I don't have to sell you on it, man. Like, he's been really good, and as good as Oakland has been, I think he's the dominating force in this spot. So give me all the Tariq Scoble we can handle, and he's in Oakland. Should be a good pitcher's park for him. Weather should be fine. Love it, man. Love Scooball today. That's why I said, Steve, that upper tier pitching today, like, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that we can be picky as well, is because there's just these guys today.
Yeah.
Some of these guys today are just in lights out spots. Mitch Spence on the other side. Mitch Spence still below average strikeout guy, giving up a lot of hard contact. Any interest here in Spence?
Nah, I don't need him, so I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily hate him as a punt pitcher. I like Kramer more. For what it's worth, I'll probably end up with more Kramer, but if I run out like 20 entries, Spence is a guy that I might leave in my player pool. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily love him. Any interest in the Detroit Bats?
I'm okay with some of these Detroit Bats, Stevie. Like, I know Riley Green's 5K. I know Meadows is 4K, but I think, one-offs or mini stacks is the way you want to treat this team if you decide to play them. A Colt Keith at 3,700. Like, that's what I think you're doing to try to put together just a nice little mini stack on the other side of a big stack, like Baltimore, who's very expensive today, or on the other side of, some of the expensive Kansas City guys like Bobby Witt and Southpaw. I think that's how you handle them. And so I'm not stacking them like full stacks, but 3-mans, one-offs, I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean, Green, Veerling, Meadows, Carpenter, any of those 4 guys, like as one-offs or 2-man stacks. I think Rashee Rice just got his over reception prop. I know that was the squad ride for today. So if you partaked in the squad ride on RotoGrinders, Rashee Rice just got his over. Any interest in the Oakland Bats?
Negative, not against Scooball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it. Like, I'll play Roker and Bangaliers against lefties from time to time, but not this guy. San Francisco at San Diego. No total in this game. I don't know if it's necessarily been like announced who's going to pitch for the Giants yet. Everything I've read is Mason Black should pitch, and then Michael King on the other side. Any interest here in if it is going to be Mason Black?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily matters who's pitching for them. I'm probably not playing a pitcher against the Padres no matter what.
Yep.
King is expensive. It's a really good strikeout matchup. Is he your low-owned play today?
That's what I'm saying, Stevie. These guys at the top, the 10. So King at 98, Valdez, Wheeler, Scooball. I don't know if you can go wrong with any of them. I do think Valdez has the worst matchup out of the 4 that are up here. I think this is a good matchup for King. And I'm with you. I think he's the lower owned out of this group. I think Wheeler has a lot more name value in what's going to look like a better spot on paper. And I know for sure Scooball has more name value than Michael King. But Stevie, we haven't. Michael King has shown tremendous strikeout upside all season. I don't see it stopping today against the San Francisco Giants. I mean, we saw him pick up 3 against St. Louis, but once again, St. Louis has become a lower strikeout team as they've gone through the season. Prior to that, the Mets 7, Minnesota 6, Pittsburgh 10, and back-to-back starts 10-7, 9 against Baltimore, 6 against Cleveland, 9 against Seattle. I'm bringing those up because that's a mix of bad teams, or let me say very low strikeout teams and higher strikeout teams. And, I mean, he's got the best of all of them. So Michael King goes on the list, man. I really like him today for sure.
Yep. I think he's going to be your low-owned option up here. I don't think he'll have a lot of ownership today, and I like the aspect of that and upside. Any interest in the Giants Bats?
Negative.
Yeah. And then as far as the Padres bats for me, I mean, it depends who's pitching. If it is Mason Black, I will have a lot of interest in the Padres bats today. This guy has been struggling both sides of the plate, a lot of home run upside. So, obviously you got to pick two of like Tatis, Machado, Merrill. Merrill would probably be my favorite. He is just having a phenomenal year. But yeah, I think San Diego, as far as like these late teams, we really haven't talked much about these late teams, but I think that like they're one of these late teams you can actually take some shots on.
Yeah, for sure. I like San Diego. I like San Diego in the previous slate, Stevie. And what I like about them is they're cheap, right? Or in certain spots, like Profar's 4,300, very reasonably priced. Machado's 54, okay. Bogarts is 41, Arias is 44, Cronenworth's 43, and just a low strikeout team with power, Stevie. So not only are they low strikeout, they've got power from the top of this lineup to, I would say, a lower middle of this lineup. I think it's a good spot for them, man. A little late night hammer action with the Padres. And let's hope that they don't become gutless as we click them into our lineups.
Oh, you gotta love it, right? Gotta love it. All right, we finish it out. Cleveland at LA, taking on the Dodgers. 8.5 total. The Dodgers are 155 favorite. Boyd pitching here against Landon Knack. Any interest here in Matthew Boyd?
Oh man, 7,100 against the Dodgers. I mean, he's had two pretty good games, Stevie. He's had good games in 3 out of his 4 starts this season. But I'm not going to do it against the Dodgers. And I think he could very well come out here and get another 20 fantasy points. Like I don't think that's impossible. But this is going to be, one of the better teams he's seen. And once again, I don't know if the risk is worth the reward here. So at 7,100, in my heart, I want to play him, Stevie. In my head, I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit more interest than you. Again, looking at these like cheap pitchers, like Matthew Boyd, he's pitched four games since coming back from injury, and his swinging strike rate is fantastic. His whiff rate is fantastic. His barrel rate is fantastic. Strikeout rate is a little bit above average. WOBA is way above average. Like, he's done really well since coming back. Yeah, do you hate the idea of pitching him against the Dodgers? Sure. But if they leave all the lefties in here, like throughout his career, Matthew Boyd's been really good against lefties. So kind of a lineup thing. Like if they leave 3 or 4 lefties in this lineup, I definitely have even more interest in him. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. Any interest in Landon Knack?
Oh, no. Definitely.
He's like,
not.
Nope. Pass.
Yeah.
Pass. Yeah, I'm not playing him. Low strikeout matchup, just not going to do it. Any interest in the Cleveland bats here?
Yeah, I'm okay with Cleveland here, and I'm also okay with spinning up, Stevie. I don't think they really get the ownership today, and so Kwan's 48, Noel 42, Lane Thomas will probably be close to the bottom of the lineup today at 4K. No problem for me. You got Ramirez at 64. Jimenez is our cheap piece at 3,900. My only concern, Stevie, is hopefully Naylor will be back because Naylor's my guy. He's like my glue guy for this lineup. But I'm perfectly fine with running the Cleveland stack as long as Naylor plays. Even if he's out, I'm probably still okay. But I like the Cleveland stack.
Yeah, I don't know how much Cleveland I get to, especially if Naylor doesn't play. I think Ramirez is fantastic. The rest of this team, I think, is just kind of okay. I'm just not excited about. I don't ever get really excited about playing Cleveland unless they're in like really good matchups. And I don't know if this is a really good matchup. I don't think it's a bad matchup for them. Landon Knack, he has a knack for giving up home runs. So like I hear the Cleveland love. Dodgers, any interest in the Dodgers here?
I don't feel like I want to full stack the Dodgers today, Stevie. I think it's more one-offs and 3-mans. But once again, I've seen this. Mookie Betts is like, he's just starting to pick it up, Stevie. And at 6,300, over the past couple games, we've seen home runs, we've seen double-digit performances. So I'm okay with Mookie as he would be my ultimate one-off play for this game in general on the other side of Ramirez.
All right. Morning grind game. Let's play the morning grind game. 12 games in the books. Friday, another week in the books. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got?
I think we've got some options here, Stevie. Once again, I'm going to go with the guy that I followed since he went to the KBO and started playing for the NC Dinos. None other than Eric Fetty at 7,700.
I kind of had a feeling that you were going to pick him. I hear you. I think I'm going to go Dean Kramer. I like the strikeout matchup for Dean Kramer.
Kramer was my second choice for sure.
Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust today?
I wish Quintana was there, but he is not. Give me Max Fried. I don't think he gets there today.
Yeah, kind of in the same range here. I'm going to go, I think I got to go Fiat against Houston today. Yep. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
Oh, baby. We've got some interesting calls there, Stevie. I'm going to go to this game in Boston, and I'm going to go with maybe the obvious play, but I think it's there, man. Give me Devers at 6K against Mr. Martin.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go all the way down to 4K and say Wyatt Langford stays hot here and hits a home run. I already said that, like, I'm going to make him the morning grind image. So the fact that he's the morning grind image, you should definitely be interested in Langford. So under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bet that you like today?
I think I'm going with Brandon Marsh against Cabrera at 3,500. I feel like that's the right call today for him.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I'm going to go to, I feel like this guy's been a staple for this question this week, and I'm going to go back to that Dodgers game that we were talking about. Give me Edman in this matchup here with Boyd. Like, he's been hitting left-handed pitching well, and he's cheap at 3,700. So give me Tommy Edman to get 2 hits today.
Yeah.
Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got?
Man, I'm going right back. Give me the Boston Red Sox.
Yep. I'm with you. I like the Red Sox a lot today. Give me the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to put up some runs. I'm really sad that I can't bet the Rangers in my 3-pick parlay today as far as their total runs because it's not up right now. But that would definitely be part of it.
Stevie, can I ask you one random question before we close the game out?
Yeah.
What month is Thanksgiving?
November?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. What month is it right now?
I feel like I'm being punked. September?
Okay. Could you please tell Josh Gillum that we don't worry about Derrick Henry until November. Once November gets here, he'll be rolling like a full head. He'll have a full head of steam.
I didn't see chat. I was like, what is going on? I didn't see chat. I was like, what is going on?
Josh is freaking out about his best ball team. He's saying Derrick Henry's dust. He didn't say that specifically, but trust me, we've seen this for the past 3 seasons, buddy. You just give him 8 weeks, and all of a sudden, he becomes Superman.
Oh, all right. I was like, what is going on? I was struggling there for a second. I was like, what is happening? All right, let's go to the betting portion of the show. Any pick and plays or player props that you like today?
Well, I wanted to see if they had this up, and I was hoping they did, and they did, but I can't do it at these numbers, man. I wanted Zach Wheeler. Even at 6.5, Steven, they're giving us minus 160. I just think that's just bad. So I can't do it. I think Reagan's is going to be a little bit better, and he is right now. You can get him over 6.5 at -134. I will take that. That's only on FanDuel right now, at least according to Scores and Odds. So I'm okay with that one. But man, I was hoping they were going to give us something a little bit better. At -160, that's just not great.
So Scoble and Pavetta, two props that I'm definitely going to be looking at today. Fetty. There's going to be a lot of strikeout props that I think have a lot of potential today. So I will be looking at some of those props because I think there's a lot of upside in some of these props today. Any other bets that you like today?
Well, I mean, we're getting the Cardinals at -120, and I know it's because Fetty's facing the Mariners. He doesn't feel like it, but he's at home. I actually like that one today. So give me the Cardinals -120.
All right, fair enough. 3-pick parlay from me today. I have a 2-pick parlay because I am gonna eventually bet the 3-pick parlay when the Texas run line comes out. I want Texas over 4.5 runs. The other two bets that you could wait to bet with Padres outright money line -200 right now, and Red Sox over 4.5 runs. I will add the Rangers over 4.5 runs as soon as that is available. So I don't have a number for you yet as far as like what it will end up at, but that is what I am looking at for my 3-pick parlay today. Those three. So I'm going to do a 3-pick parlay with Texas. As soon as that line drops at 4.5 or like over 4.5 runs, I like the Red Sox over 4.5 runs, and I like the Padres to win outright here on Friday. Will, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Negative, my brother. Thanks so much for having me yet again. I enjoyed, coming on, doing the pod, talking with you, talking with our listeners. And thank you guys for always interacting. And Josh, just don't sweat it, man. Henry's going to pick up some speed for us.
All right, that's going to wrap it up here for Friday. We're back Monday. I hope everyone has a fantastic week 1 of the NFL season. Me and Notorious broke it down on the morning grind yesterday.
That's right.
Feed. Oh, yeah.
How did everybody feel about the OGs being on the pod?
I mean, I hope everyone liked it. I mean, it was a great show. So
I'm probably considered an OG now, even though I haven't been around as long as you guys. I have stood the test of time. So there you have it.
Oh, Baltimore just scored a touchdown, likely with a long touchdown. So
it was a pass from Lamar, though, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like a 49-yard touchdown, I think. 49-yard touchdown.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lamar. I need one more TD from Lamar for my work. I'm in this survivor thing, and it's like picking quarterbacks to get pass rush or receiving touchdowns, and it's the line is 1.5 every week.
Oh, you took Lamar?
Pass rush or receiving. You see what I'm saying? So I felt like Lamar was a lot more likely to get a rushing TD than Mahomes. So, yeah, pass rush receiving 1.5.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. We're back on Monday talking baseball. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.